Hi, everyone. My name's Callie Turney, and I'm one of your classmates in secondary English methods with Dr. Kingery this semester. And I've put together some research and a project over close reading in secondary classrooms. I've got a lot of information in here. I may have kind of overdone it, but I've got about 4 to 5 minutes to go through it with you, so I'm going to go kind of fast. If you guys would be interested in seeing the research or having the presentation later, please let me know, and I'd be happy to provide it for you. So close reading is something that has actually come up in some of the texts that we've been working with, the Uncommon Core, English Teacher's Companion. Even though if it wasn't called close reading, the ideas were there. And so what close reading is a strategic process that we teach our students, an instructional strategy. We're asking them to dig deeper into a text, be more critical, and to uncover new layers of meaning. However, it is a strategy that should only be used with complex text, and we'll talk about that a little more here in a second. The research does tell us that the ability to read and understand a complex text is required across disciplines and into adult life. And so as students get older, they're expected to read more and more complicated and specialized things. And so we need to prepare them for that and to remember that we really need to get that strong reading foundation in place so that we can help our students as they grow. If they know how to do these processes and these steps, doing all of the things that we're going to ask them to do with the text become a lot easier. And then they can pick and choose for themselves. Hey, this works for me. This does not work for me. What's going to help me understand the material best? And we'll go through some of those steps. Why close reading and why we should be focused on this idea of teaching this strategic process is because Common Core standards really emphasize reading across disciplines, and that's becoming more and more common. Being able to read, make annotation, have discussion, and read purposefully is something that we need to do as students, as teachers, and as adults after we leave school and we go into the real world. Being unable to close read, like we're talking about here, has actually led to a lack of readiness for college and career among a lot of high school students that are leaving, especially our English language learners and our children who live in poverty. And so that's something that we really need to work on to provide them with the tools they need to be successful no matter what it is they do once they leave school. What close reading should look like for students. They should be interacting with the text, and that can mean a lot of different things. But close reading comes in 3 stages: before reading, during reading, and after reading. This can help you guide your students through the process of close reading by using different types of questioning during each phase. And we're going to talk about the questioning, annotating, using graphic organizers, answering and creating questions, having an end goal or a product after working the text, and multiple rereads should kind of be expectations here. Kids don't like to do a lot of these things because it is hard work, but it is a skill, or they are all skills that they can apply later. So foundations here are appropriate texts, you set a purpose, annotating, rereading, modeling, and questioning. Guys, the modeling step is so important. Students have to be taught these things. We can't just expect them to decide, hey, I'm just going to figure this out one day, or we show them one time and then they get it. It's very important as a teacher that you're modeling for them your expectations and how it works. And it's okay to model that, hey, sometimes things are hard and I need extra time or extra help or support. I'm going to have to do something myself as a teacher to figure this out. That is so good for your students. Appropriate texts. They should be short, complex, and relevant. Remember, we've talked about relevancy and authenticity, and that's important here too. Not all text should be used for close reading activities. It should be short readings, read alouds, discussion groups, videos, dramatizations, anything that is appropriately short and complex is appropriate for close reading. Complexity is another issue that sometimes comes up, but they're not just difficult words. You can do all kinds of things, and I've got a list here that make texts more complex without having to have super high vocabulary. You can do lots of other things that make it a complex text. Setting a purpose. You need to know what your outcome is going to be for your students. If you don't know what the outcome is, they are not going to be able to figure it out. And so you need to be specific with them. For example, as you read, think about the author's purpose for writing this piece. I've given the students a purpose, I've given them a goal. And so that gets us started on what tasks we're going to have to complete to be able to answer this question. Rereading is a thing that I've never had students like to do. We don't tend to emphasize it as teachers. The first reading should be for basic understanding. Each rereading following should add a new level of depth and complexity and a new thing that students are reading for. Specific annotations, questions, specific language, comparing and contrasting. You have to be specific here in your purpose as well. And then modeling. I think this is the most important step. If you do not model for your students, you cannot just assume that they know what you want, how to annotate, how to use a graphic organizer, how to reread for clarification. You have got to model this for your students. It's so and so important. So each time we add a new activity or requirement, we should model that for students. Hey, here's what it's going to look like. And gradual release is a great process for your students. We do, you do, or we do as a group, as a class, you do in a small group, and then you guys do it on your own. So it's that gradual release model. And then questioning. Powerful questions are very important. They lay the foundation for guiding students. Your questioning needs to be very powerful and with your end purpose and your end goal in mind. If you don't have that in there, again, what are students supposed to do? What are we trying to teach them? Are we trying to teach them just to read it and answer a bunch of questions? Or are there specific skills that we want to attach to that? And hopefully there's specific skills that we're trying to attach. And then I've given you a list here of possible questions to kind of take a look at and think about what you might use these questions for, how you might use these questions with specific texts. And then close reading in your own classroom. Remember, choice matters. Again, you have to consider your own classroom. You have to consider context. Do they have the background knowledge they need? It should not be the only strategy you're focusing on, though. Using a blend of strategies to help students become better readers is valuable. So whatever it is that works, you should be using it, and what you're really good at, what you feel your strengths are, play to those. You don't have to do something exactly like someone else or someone in a different classroom would do. And so kind of in conclusion, it's best to have a strategy. There's a lot of models for close reading that give flexibility so you can pick what works for you and what works for your students. That's the most important thing. You should use what works for you already and then sprinkle in some close reading as well. If you already have things that work well, use those and then kind of build in. And then monitor and adjust. Close reading can be demanding. It can be exhausting. You may try it one way and it doesn't work, and so you're going to have to kind of mix things up and try it. It's okay, because the great news is you have a whole school year to work with these kids. And so you find what works for them and for you, and hopefully makes everyone more successful in your classroom. I hope this has been a helpful presentation. I'm sorry I was talking so quickly, but I covered a lot of material. Again, if anybody would like the presentation, I'm happy to share it. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video and listen to what I had to say. I hope you guys have had a great semester. I really enjoyed taking this class with you. Thank you and have a great evening.